Mark Amber, Physically Fit at 50, and I'm here with Mike Eck here in Bulverde, Texas at Team One Athlete Performance. He is the owner and operator of this gym where he does large classes, individual personal training. Now Mike, we're here to talk about another body part. Now what's the one body part we first discovered when we're a kid that we continue to flex all the way into adulthood? What would it be?
The bicep.
Boom.
That's for sure.
Right there. That's the one muscle from the time we're little kids all the way into adulthood that we're sitting there flexing that muscle on how big is your bicep, looking at the peak, trying to get the bicep well defined or get the arms super large where we have the tightest sleeves.
I mean, you know, it's one of those that probably gets overworked the most in the gym. So that's kind of what we wanted to talk about is streamlining your workout so you maximize growth without overtraining, because it probably gets overtrained way beyond any other muscle group, because it's probably one of the only muscles that you use in virtually everything you do besides lower body. But any upper body movement, it's going to probably have some bicep in it anyways.
So what you're saying, like when I'm working my back, doing a lot of pulling exercises from pull-ups to lat pull-downs, I'm getting a lot of bicep workout at the same time,
Right.
Getting the pump.
That's
And
exactly
I totally agree with you on that. And I see guys in the gym all the time, they're always in there working their arms, and they're just trying to throw around the heaviest weight, you know, with the rocking, the poor form. But I'll have to say, at our age, I used to be like that. I used to want to have the 18-inch biceps, the big guns like Arnold Schwarzenegger had. But at 185 pounds, I like to be well defined. I like to go light on my weight, a lot of reps, and have more of a defined bicep than what I used to at 232 pounds.
Right. And with the bicep, I mean, that is definitely one of those muscles where a lot doesn't mean better. You know, you can get some really great definition, and you can actually increase muscle mass without having to go through some serious heavy resistance on it.
And a matter of fact, the bicep's one of the smallest muscles in the body, and it doesn't take a whole lot of sets and reps to actually work it.
That's right.
And tear it up and get it well defined.
Right. Quality overweight, for sure.
So what we're going to do today, we're going to show you some of our favorite bicep exercises that you can use every other day, every day, or whenever you're in the gym. We're going to show you our favorite ones.
All right, so we got straight bars. Probably one of the, in my opinion, one of my favorite bars or bicep exercises. Matter of fact, I usually start my bicep workout with a straight bar. A few things I like to incorporate into the workout is when I'm starting, I'm making sure that my hand placement is right in front of my shoulders. Maybe just a touch wider, definitely not on the inside. If you'll bring your hands right in front of your shoulders, the second thing I like to do is point my thumbs down the bar. When I point my thumbs down the bar, I allow two things. One is, if you'll notice, that bicep will shorten. Okay, now I'm working both that brachialis muscle, that bicep brachialis, and that major muscle of the bicep as well simultaneously, because I've got that, I'm supinated at the wrist, okay, which turn that thumb out, gets that wrist turned. Second is, I don't do what's called choking the bar. If I take my hand and I wrap my thumb around the bar, I have a tendency to really squeeze in my latter reps because I'm trying to get those last few reps. Well, when you squeeze on that bar, you can create both ulnar and radial nerve pain around the joint of the elbow. So if you pull that thumb out, you'll have a less likelihood to really choke down on that bar. So there's two good reasons why I like to pull that thumb out. When I go through a bicep rep, here's a lot of times what I'll tell clients. I'll say, if you'll imagine an imaginary baseball, I'm gonna put that softball or baseball right up against your ribs and your elbows. Now, I'm not touching my elbow to my ribs, okay, but I am holding that imaginary baseball out there, and I'm not gonna drop that baseball through the whole range of motion. So if you notice a Marsh coming up, he's leaving those elbows pointing straight down to the ground and he's not letting them come forward. So too often you'll see guys in the weight room, they'll go to do that curl and they'll let those elbows come forward because all they're focusing on is getting that bar up. But what's happening is they're allowing the shoulders to be a big part of the movement, which is not a horrible thing. It's just not shoulder days, it's bicep days. So we're gonna focus on biceps. Let's keep those elbows down. Imaginary baseball, don't drop that baseball through the whole range of motion. Now, if you notice when he's coming up, and we'll do this on a lot of the other movements we do and kind of what we did on our bench, it's up quick, and then it's down nice and slow, okay? That's called the eccentric movement. You'll have more muscle tear in the bicep, which sounds horrible, but that's what you want, on that eccentric movement on the coming down part of the movement, okay? So it's an up quick contraction, down nice and slow coming down, and that's where you're gonna get the majority of your fatigue. Too often you'll see guys pull that bar up and then just drop it. They'll pull it up and drop it, pull it up and drop it. Well, they're missing the boat. Probably 75% of the benefit of a bicep curl is going to come from that release coming down nice and slow, getting that eccentric, getting those muscle fibers will crawl across each other and actually rip and tear. It's the tearing of the fibers that actually creates muscle mass by going home, rebuilding that night, that's through sleep, the rest cycle, showing up to the gym the next day a little sore, that's the tearing, and getting that rest, maybe 2 or 3 days before you hit biceps again, and they'll repair themselves. So,
all right, now one of my favorite bicep exercises is the dumbbell curls. I love when you're working the dumbbell curls, you're able to really hit that peak. As you come up, you're going to twist it in and really isolate and hit that peak. So when I've got my arm like this, and then I turn that wrist in, you flex the peak. You're hitting that peak, really working on that baseball size lump in that arm right there. Really hitting the peak when you turn that wrist. When you turn it here, it elongates the muscle. When you turn it in, now we're hitting that peak and really working on the top of that bicep. Alternating, you can do them together, but the main thing is you want to control the weight. You notice he's not rocking at the shoulders, trying to get the weight up. It's a nice concentration curl. Elbows are straight down, as if when Mike talked about having like a tennis ball or a baseball right here beside you, he's really got that baseball basically locked in. He's controlling the movement all the way up and all the way down. And he's not just dropping the weight on the way down. He's bringing it down with control, really tearing that bicep muscle up.
This is an incline dumbbell curl. Now, transitioning to this movement, you're probably going to have to drop your dumbbell weight just a touch. Meaning you're starting in a lengthening position with the bicep muscle. It is very isolated because you're pulling everything else out of play and isolating the bicep. It's really one of the only muscles that are going to be contracting besides the forearm muscles and maybe a little bit of the shoulder just for stabilization. Go ahead and give me a couple. So you'll notice Mark, what he's doing is elbows going straight down, and when he's coming up, he's turning that bicep at the top of the movement. Now, the reason why I like this is that, and he'll feel this when he's coming down, this works that definition between the shoulder and the bicep muscle. Okay, so if you're looking for that really nice separation between bicep and shoulder muscle to create that a little bit of an illusion of a very large muscle mass, you can do a lot of work here and really create the illusion of a large bicep muscle without having to really do a ton of bicep work just by incorporating this into your workout. Like I said, it's great for the separation between here, and you'll feel it at the top of the movement. But the key to this is making sure that elbows stay straight down when he curls up, the bicep back, or the arm and the elbows back behind the body, which push that bicep in a strain already, so it's in a stretch when he's lifting. Coming up and then turning that bicep at the very end. He's going to see that dumbbell is going to turn at the top of the movement. It's going to get that second brachialis muscle to engage, and then he's going to lower it back down with a nice slow contraction coming down, creating that eccentric movement. Okay, great way to get the other end of the peak near the shoulder.
All right, here's another one of my favorite ones. Back to the dumbbells again, and now we're talking about the dumbbell hammer curl, where we've been working on the peak with a lot of the curling and the hand motion to hit the peak of the bicep. Now we're talking about with the hammer, Mike, we're going to talk about lengthening the bicep. So this time, as he's doing the dumbbell curl, he has no twisting of the wrist. We are basically working on lengthening that bicep. So when I'm here flexing, I showed the length of the bicep. When I turn my wrist, now I'm making the peak, okay? So right now, we're without the twist in the wrist, so we're now working on the length of the bicep. Still, elbows down, elbows close to the side. He's controlling the weight, not going too heavy on this, and really isolating that bicep and working on the length of the bicep. And this is another one of my favorite exercises.
Yeah, one thing to emphasize, which we didn't touch on the others, it's really imperative when you come up and finish that movement, don't come up and relax. Okay, it's kind of counterintuitive to think that you can relax at the end of the movement when you come up and you're at the top, but you can. Your muscles can actually somewhat relax because you've completed the range of motion. But if you'll come up and complete each with a hard squeeze,
flex that bicep,
and then release that squeeze as you're coming down. So I'm going to come up and then squeeze my bicep and then release as I'm coming down.
Control.
Yep.
All right, now you've seen some of our favorite 4 exercises for working biceps. Even when we're on the road, we find ways to work our biceps, either with rubber bands, even the hotel gym. We're going to find some way to get a workout. but we wanted to show you in the gym our 4 favorite exercises for working biceps. Now, do me a favor. If you like this video, subscribe, share it with others, and also go on the website and take a look at Team 1 Athlete Performance and check out this gym in Bulverde, Texas. Physically fit at 50.